changing their role forever.
Harvard Medical School has now opened its doors to new female applicants.
The first woman is now in space.
The majority of last year's doctorate degrees were earned by women.
We've come so far, but our news is changing for the worse. More women die from heart disease and stroke than men, even though it can be prevented. Make a change at GoRedForWomen.org today. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the American Heart Association's Go Red for Women.
Thinking about smothering him? Sleepwell has a better, less violent answer. A Power Base upgrade. Alleviate not only snoring, but sleep apnea and asthma, ease insomnia, improve digestion, lighten back pain, hip pain, and leg swelling, and so much more. Save up to $800 on a Power Base, plus store-wide savings on mattresses and all your bedding needs. Financing available. Sleepwell open Monday through Saturday at the corner of 1st and White Sands, or 24/7 at thesleepwell.com. When you sleep well, you live well. What makes Vision Ford Lincoln Hyundai unique? At Vision Ford, we're all about you. Your vision, your style, your needs, and your story. Vision is fully stocked with dozens of the hottest 2018 models, including the Ford F-Series, America's #1 selling truck for 40 years. With financing options that fit every budget and a sales team dedicated to you, Vision Ford Lincoln Hyundai continues the Yes We Can tradition. All we need is you. Visit us today at 1500 South White Sands Boulevard or 24/7 online at visionfordlincoln.com. ESPN Alamogordo 103.7. Welcome back into the roundup. Hope you're having a very good Tuesday. 437-1230. Hey, we're live online now as well over on YouTube. Something wasn't plugged in the way that it was supposed to be. Not technically my fault, but doesn't really matter. So, second half of the show will be available on YouTube if you missed any part of it. But if you're listening right now, you might as well just listen all the way through the rest of the show. I might miss something good. So, anyway, Tularosa defeated by Socorro, 27-12, the final score there. You know, Socorro seems like they've gotten off to, I mean, they beat up on Thoreau the first week, and that was a close game, I think, until about halftime. And then Socorro pulled away in the second half. Tule will try to bounce back with a matchup against Lordsburg, which I believe, now, let me double check. I believe Coach Hooper is still coaching out there in Lordsburg. So let me double check and make sure that hasn't changed, because there are times when I don't even know that there have been coaching changes at Alamogordo. So I certainly have not been keeping an exceptionally close eye on the Lordsburg athletics situation. Yeah, it's still Dale Hooper out there. So, and Lordsburg will come in at 0-2, 1-1 for Tularosa. We'll spend some more time on this game coming up later in the week. They lost to Wilcox, which is out of Arizona, just out there in the far east parts of Arizona. And then Academia Juarez, believe they played that. Looks like they played that one in Mexico? No, they played that one in Lordsburg. Okay. Thought I saw an app there. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know of too many teams that went across the border and played games, but that didn't happen. So, but yeah, at Tularosa this week for Lordsburg. And let's see if we've got any. Tule's done a real nice job. By the way, both Tule and Alamogordo so far have done a really solid job of loading up statistics from each game, which I know I appreciate more than you know. So very solid of them. Didn't have as good of a game running the football as they did against Hot Springs. I think they racked up almost 300 yards rushing 2 weeks ago, and last week it was around 100 yards. So offensively, they just didn't have the same kind of night that they did. So, credit probably to Socorro's defense. Got to give them, I think, some credit on that, and it certainly seems as if that made a difference. Marcus Barraza had a pretty good game. He had up over 100 yards rushing for Tule, but 19 carries, 112 yards. So certainly not a bad day for him there. And Trayton Griffin ran one in for a touchdown, and not sure what their other touchdown. Looks like they had a passing touchdown as well. As if, let's see, Jacob Lopez came away with that. So, Thule and Socorro, 27-12 the final score last week. And, again, it's Thule versus Lordsburg coming up this Friday night out at Cerny Stadium. That's you talk about I still feel like that's a rivalry game. I think in most sports. I just think Lordsburg and Thule, it seems like that they've ended up against each other in so many occasions that I believe that they still view that as a rivalry. It's so hard to tell these days. And I think the rivalry stuff is probably way oversold. It's not, anything that I don't want to say it doesn't mean anything, but from a standpoint of we probably read too much into it for the most part. So, fair way to I think view that one. So, let's see. I think Cloudcroft is rolling up stats as well. They threw 5 touchdowns last week, and it's like they used 2 different quarterbacks as well. Dylan Eldridge threw 3 touchdown passes, 5 of 10 for 150 yards. Keegan Adams for the Cloudcroft Bears, 5 of 11 for 170 and 3 touchdowns. Eldridge threw 2, I'm sorry. And Eldridge and Adams, both the big ball carriers, both rushed for over 120 yards last week. Good stuff. So Dylan Eldridge threw 2 touchdown passes and received 2, and did he run the other one in? No, Adams ran the other one in. Well, they've got a couple of really talented kids up there, that's for sure. Man, they're just racking up yards so far. They had 300 yards passing in that game. Whew. That's impressive. Marshall Verdon had a good game as well. Yeah, that seems like that'd be a pretty entertaining team if you get a chance to watch them at some point. It seems like that would be a fun deal. I want to see if Alamogordo has popped up their defensive stats. Max Merrill had another really good game defensively. Shane Sargent had another really good game defensively against Los Lunas. Just, again, some things here and there that still need to get fixed for the Tigers if they want to get out of a Friday night with a victory. But I think still some very positive things to view from these games. And let's see here. And did I call Nick Garland? I think Garland. I need to make sure I get that right. Had somebody actually message me during the game. Mark Prather had 11 total tackles in that game last week. Dakota LaSalle had 7. Max Merrill had 7. Jaron Prude had 6. He also had an interception in the game. Cameron Bevan had 6 tackles. So a lot of positives. Max and Shane had the 2 sacks. Prude had an interception. They gave Julio Mendoza a pass deflection. Tigers. Man, I don't remember the Tigers recovering a fumble. Boy, I don't remember that at all. Or did the Tigers fumble and somebody recovered? I don't remember. Reese Cady caused a fumble, but they have a fumble recovery listed for... Oh, and Mirabal recovered one that Martin had ran for it and coughed it up, and Mirabal actually gained like 6 or 7 yards on the play. I remember it clearly now. I was like, I didn't remember the defense... the defense causing a fumble in that game, but now I do. Tiger special teams need to get some stuff figured out, from a really bad snap on a punt to 2 just super clean blocks for Los Lunas. Well, the first one was a jailbreak, and their best linebacker got through, and then the second one was a bad snap, and then the offensive line got pushed back, which happens. And it was hard for Brett to clear the line on the play. So it was the snap that kind of slowed things down on it more than anything else. So just some things for Alamo to clean up in those spots. And again, I'm encouraged from what I've seen in the two games. I thought last week was better than the week before. I certainly wasn't saying that last year between Game 1 against Valencia and Game 2 against Los Lunas. So I think that there really has to be a lot of comparison to where the Tigers have been and where they are now and how they've looked from week to week. So two similar results, but I think if you look at the intricacies of each game, that there's definitely some differences in that. I mean, to be fair, if Alamogordo can get a stop after scoring, making it a 2-score game in the fourth quarter, they might have a chance last week. Now, unfortunately, Los Lunas went right down the field and scored on them, and the game was over with about 6-7 minutes left. So that was kind of the bummer in all of that. All right, let's switch over to boys soccer. Alamogordo boys finished second place up at the Los Alamos tournament, scored a win over Aztec 8-0 on Friday, and then they beat Roswell 3-1 in what sounded like a hard-fought match, and then lost to Clovis in the second game around, 3-1 the final score. Clovis undefeated on the season. I think they're now 6-0. The Tigers are 6-1 on the year. And I know that from what it sounded like, the whole team was fighting through sickness, and I know it's going to sound off me saying that, the fact that they lost was the reason why. That's not what I'm saying. And I guarantee you, certainly wouldn't be what Coach Wilder would say, that, he's definitely not an excuses guy. I'm sure he expected the team to go out there and win regardless, but they, from the sounds of it, they were a little beat up and they were a little sick, and they played a really good team on Saturday evening and lost. I mean, simple as that. So got off to a great start, and I was noticing on the Tiger Soccer Facebook page, they hadn't lost a game, I think, in 22 games, going back to a double overtime win against Hatch last year. And I know they had one tie in that mix because they had a tie in district, but they didn't lose another game from that point until they lost on Saturday night, which is a pretty incredible run. And I'll say it, I'm super impressed that they started off the season the way that they have. I thought it would be, a little bit of a transition for them, and they had some decent teams they were playing in, Chaparral and Hobbs. Los Lunas certainly, came out and played well against them. Carlsbad played them tough on the road. So, they've played some solid teams. Roswell boys are always very good. At the end of the day, neutral site game, you lose to another undefeated team. Those boys don't have anything to be ashamed about in that, and I guarantee you they'll bounce back and be ready to go. They'll have some time to get healed up because they, now that today's game against Hobbs was canceled and not hearing of any makeup date of any kind right now, they start district next Tuesday against Mayfield. So, they've got a little bit of extra time to kind of get things squared away and where they want to be and ready to go for district. And I'm sure that, a little bit of extra time off wouldn't, they played 7 games in 14 days very quickly. It wasn't even 14 days. It was kind of like 10. So they really really had to play a lot in a short amount of time. Girls as well. Alamogordo girls finished 5th place over at the Cruces tournament. They played 5 games in 3 days last week, Tuesday through Saturday. I guess that's 4 days. But still having a tougher time of it against the big 5A schools so far. I thought they played well against Carlsbad, just didn't finish in a lot of places. But Hobbs and Centennial haven't been, obviously 2 tough games there. They'll get a chance to maybe bounce back in that one against Hobbs tonight. We'll see. But the Lady Tigers have done well. I feel like certainly have done very well against the teams that you would expect them to defeat. Chaparral, Deming, Santa Teresa, the previous district, and Lovington as well. A team that they dominated last year. So, I feel like they've taken care of business, but in the games against the better teams so far, they just haven't had it. 6-0 to Hobbs, 6-0 to Centennial, 3-1 to Carlsbad. I guarantee you for Coach Barbosa, he wants to see something different tonight for them to, looking towards district. Pretty big game tonight from that standpoint. So we'll see. So the Hobbs-Alamogordo girls game is on. And by the way, and I've I'm getting sent some information about the boys game, and the weather explanation may not be completely in line with what's out there, but certainly not information I'm gonna go on the radio with the other stuff. But doesn't seem like weather was the reason why the game was canceled. So we'll see if there's more info that comes out about that, if at all, with the Alamogordo boys game. Yeah, when I saw that, and Jason Farmer, the Hobbs News Son, I always get Las Cruces Sun News, Hobbs News Sun. He tweeted out that it was due to weather. I'm thinking, already? I mean, if the field conditions are bad, but I think they play at the football field over there, don't they? I think they use the field turf at what is that, Boyer Stadium over there? I believe that to be the case. I think they've always played at the football stadium in Hobbs. And I know Carlsbad uses the football stadium. Hobbs does. Not sure about Artesia. I don't think they do it in Roswell, right? Don't they have their own soccer fields in Roswell? But anyway, we'll see if we get any further information about that. I don't know. We'll see if they reschedule it. That's another one that I don't know. Alamogordo volleyball lost on Friday night to Santa Teresa in straight sets. From the sound of it, wasn't the best match the Lady Tigers have played this year, and Santa Teresa's a quality team. So a tough one there. They'll try to bounce back on the road against Los Lunas today. Continue to say it. They've made hay in this non-district schedule. They need to continue to try to do that. They'll have to go to the Cruces tournament this weekend. The district, as we know, is going to be really tough. Getting some of these wins in the non-district, I think, are going to be key to, giving the Lady Tigers a chance to make the postseason this year. But, one of the positive things of a district being that good is that, you may see 4 teams out of the district get in. So if the Lady Tigers can play past Deming and Oñate and somebody else in that mix, Mayfield or Gadsden, they should have a decent chance at getting into the postseason. With it being that big of a district, and I think, are there only 3 districts in 5A in volleyball? Might be 4. But I think that's the point, that when you have Cruces and Centennial that are as good as they are, and Gadsden's always really solid, that they're certainly going to view that district pretty highly in terms of the amount of teams that may get out of there. But it feels like every game in non-district is going to be really, really important for the Lady Tigers. Cloudcroft volleyball, meanwhile, finished in 7th place over at the Eunice tournament. They lost their opening match to Elida. Elida lost in the title match to, I think, Mesilla Valley Christian. And lost a 5-setter to, was it Hagerman? I think so. And then beat Jowl in straight sets in the final match. So 1-3 now in the season for Cloudcroft. They don't play again until next week, I think the 11th, and they've also got the Mountaintop tournament next week. I think Thule and Cloudcroft JV play tonight, but it's not a varsity matchup this evening. And Mescalero volleyball, nice win over East Mountain on Saturday. Came back from 2 sets down to win it in 5. So they've opened up the season 2-1 and are off until Friday when they head to the Estancia tournament. Tularosa volleyball, I think we had already talked about them on Friday. They didn't play over the weekend, but they do play at the Magdalena tournament coming up this week. Alamogordo cross country. Girls finished first, boys finished second at the Fort Stanton meet. Not a particularly big meet. I think there were 5 teams on each side, but the girls team probably had 3 or 4 of their top runners that weren't there. They were, of course, with the girls soccer team, but Mariah Martin ran well, and a few of the others ran. Let me see the official results. Let's see. Make sure I get that right. Ellery Battle finished in 3rd overall. Mackenzie Jordan finished in 3rd for the team, 7th overall. Hannah Caceres, 8th overall. Heidi Amberson was 9th. Celso Garcia apparently ran a very, very good race. Was almost a minute clear of everybody else, finishing 1st overall. Then it was Alex Cavolo, Michael Gagnon, Paxton Rodwick and Victor Grimaldo. Boys had, I think, most of their team there, so they are at home on Thursday. Encourage everybody to get out there and support Alamogordo Cross Country. They also have their Black and Gold 5K coming up this week. That's on Friday. So if you're interested in being a part of that Black and Gold 5K, go check out the Alamogordo Cross Country Facebook page and give them a like. And they've always got good information. A lot of times have some good pictures from the events and various things. So get an opportunity, jump on the Facebook and do that. And but overall, yeah, it seemed like Coach Gigler was pretty happy with his team's performance in their first meet of the season. So always fun to go do that at elevation, and I think they've done that for one of their first events of the year. Seems like most years recently, but maybe I have that mixed up in my head. All right, did we get through everybody? I think we did. All the volleyball teams, all the football teams, cross country, boys and girls soccer. Whew, it's a lot. We haven't really talked about any other high school football, like El Dorado going down to Cruces and hanging 70 on Las Cruces High School at the Field of Dreams. I tell you what, man, we'll see how El Dorado is this year. Are they going to be the team they were last year, where they won those kind of games and then would lose a game to what certainly would perceive to be a lesser opponent, somebody that they should beat? I mean, there's a lot of experience with that program and the coaching staff and elsewhere, but they were an enigma last season. But that was last season, so obviously could be, probably will be something completely different this year, but we shall see. Cleveland beat Franklin. Mayfield played pretty solidly against Del Valle. So the doom and gloom around Mayfield may be a little bit too extreme, and I'll tell you what, I mean, I would never count Mayfield out of anything, especially that district. I don't think, it certainly doesn't seem like Cruces is a world beater this year. They're probably very good. We'll see what they do against La Cueva this week. But, the rest of the district, Centennial's solid. Haven't heard anything especially great about Oñate yet. And then Gadsden and Deming. Or no, not Deming. Gadsden. Well, okay, Hobbs and Carlsbad. I forgot. That district is still Hobbs and Carlsbad in there. So that's going to be an interesting district. We'll see if one of the Cruces schools wins that district this year, or if it's one of those two eastern portion of the state schools. That'll be intriguing to watch. Okay, let's take a break. We'll come back, wrap up the show for today. If you want to call in, 437-1230. More of the roundup for you after this.
There are no roadblocks scheduled today on either Highway 70 or 54 South. For the latest roadblock information, call 575-678-1178. Tonight's forecast is calling for partly cloudy skies with a 20% chance of rain in Alamogordo. Expect an overnight low of 65 for Cloudcroft, a low of 52. Tomorrow we're looking at mostly sunny, becoming partly cloudy, 40% chance of rain in Alamogordo tomorrow, high of 88, low of 63. Cloudcroft tomorrow, high of 69, overnight low of 49 degrees.
Fall into 0% with an OFCU Visa Platinum Card. From September 1st through the 30th, get 0% APR on new and existing OFCU credit cards. Use your Visa Platinum Card on purchase transactions and get 0% for 6 months. Wait, there's more. Transfer over your high interest rate credit cards to your OFCU Visa Platinum Card and get 0% on balance transfers for 6 months. Hurry before it's over. Limited time offer, all in subject to credit approval. Other restrictions may apply. Federal insured by NCUA. OFCU, call 800-376-9000 or oterofcu.org.
Score big with great savings at Justin's Motor Company. Hustle on down to one of Justin's 2 locations. Cars, trucks, SUVs, Jeeps, you name it, Justin's has it. Makes and models to fit any budget and the best customer service in town. One-stop online shopping makes your next car buying experience a breeze. Check out the full inventory, meet the staff, even apply online. All at JustinsMotorCompany.com. 2 locations conveniently located on the Holloman Highway or 489-5820, Justin's Motor Company.
If you and your family are looking for a new home, you don't have to look far for a home mortgage. As a community bank, we not only have great rates, we offer you friendly financial service right here in the neighborhood. There are a lot of options in real estate lending. We're here to see that you get a loan you can live with. Talk to us about your home mortgage. We're an equal housing lender. First National Bank, member FDIC. When you grow, we grow.
Stop by White Sands Motorsports right here in Alamogordo for all your power sport needs. White Sands Motorsports carries Honda, Yamaha, and Roxor. New to the store, Can-Am and Textron side-by-side vehicles. As always, they handle parts and services for all makes and models. For the best power sport deals on 2 or 4 wheels, White Sands Motorsports has got you covered. Open Tuesday through Friday, 9:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. and Saturdays, 9:30 to 5. 21070 Highway 70 or visit motorsportsofnewmexico.com.
This is Brandon with Desert Sun. I'm not sure if you all know this, but Desert Sun Auto Group consists of 5 dealerships across the great state of New Mexico. This means we have 5 new car departments with over 500 vehicles to choose from and over 200 quality pre-owned vehicles. Majority of these vehicles, when bought from us, are backed with Desert Sun's lifetime powertrain protection. Stop by either Desert Sun Motors or Desert Sun Toyota today and let us help you find your new ride. See our full inventory at DesertSunMotors.com.
ESPN Alamogordo 103.7. Welcome back into the show. Just a few minutes left. Again, want to let you know I hesitate to call it breaking news, but the news that Alamogordo boys soccer not playing at Hobbs today. A game canceled. A little unsure on the reasoning right now. We'll see if we get some more information about that as time goes by, but a little confused. I've heard a couple of different things, and I don't have any exact on that. So rather than say something and sound foolish afterwards, I'll just say that the game was canceled. Okay? Let's go that way. Girls game is on for tonight, though, 4:30 and 6:30 start time for JV and for varsity. Alamogordo volleyball is at Los Lunas tonight, 4, 5, and 6 o'clock start times there up at Los Lunas High School. Otherwise, no other area teams in action on this Tuesday. Relatively quiet coming off the Labor Day weekend. Of course, we just spent most of the show running through most of what we had over the weekend. Probably spend tomorrow looking at across the state some of the scores of some of the games. Tell you what, the best game this week is probably on a Thursday night. I think Cleveland and El Dorado up in Albuquerque. That should be fun. And you've got Las Cruces High versus La Cueva up in the Albuquerque area this weekend. So, yeah, good stuff. By the way, as much as I talk about Cloudcroft there, they've got Loving coming up next. For whatever reason, I didn't mention who they were playing after their win last week. And who does Mescalero have? I was looking at it earlier, and now I don't remember. They, Tularosa JV. And they're playing that game on Saturday, it looks like. So that's what's coming up for Mescalero football. All right. So it's going to be another fun week, I think. And if you're an Alamogordo fan, not that difficult to make the trip up to Ruidoso. I mean, that's an extremely short drive. So hopefully we'll see a lot of Tiger fans. By the way, the crowd I thought was pretty good on Friday night. I thought that it's first game of the year, and it was good. You never know. I think all of us recognize, coming off an 0-10 season, you don't know what the community support is going to be in people coming out. And I thought it was a pretty solid crowd on Friday night. Certainly not as big as it can be over there at Tiger Stadium. We've seen that place absolutely jam-packed for some games. So like to see it get back to that place, but I thought it was a good crowd. I thought it was pretty a crowd that was getting into it as well. That was something I enjoyed. On top of that, it seemed like people were into the game and having some fun with it. So that's what I like to see as well. All right, anything else we want to make sure we get to before we round out the show today? We'll talk some college football tomorrow. Of course, NFL begins on Thursday with the Eagles and the Falcons, then everybody else on Sunday and Monday. So the NFL season ready to get started. First full weekend of college football. Not sure we learned anything overly spectacular. Nice win for Auburn. That was probably the biggest game of the weekend. LSU crushing Miami was impressive. Don't know what to say about the Canes, man. That's they're just not quite ready for prime time yet. But they can also rebound from it. It's the first game of the season, and an opportunity to try to get that turned in the right direction for them. It's their season, or their chance of maybe getting into the college football playoff by no means is done. And Bama cruised. I think I saw Auburn jumped up. I don't know if they jumped up to 2, but a lot of people had them moving up that far. Ohio State leapfrogged Wisconsin in the AP poll, I think. I don't have the full list right here in front of me, but Ohio State looked good against Oregon State, and there were definitely a lot of others. UTEP fans, I'm sorry. That's brutal to lose to an FCS program. However, Northern Arizona, I think, was a playoff team last year in FCS. It's not going to make UTEP fans feel any better. You're going to have to give that time. It's just as simple as that, the program's in bad shape, and if you're a fan of the team and the program, you got to be patient, I think. You can freak out, I guess, and go on Facebook and say it's the end of the world, which I think there were a lot of people that were doing that. So to each your own. You're all allowed to react whatever way that you want to. Hopefully it's in a reasonable manner, but I don't know, asking sports fans to react in a reasonable manner is always asking for maybe a little bit too much. So kind of just the deal. But New Mexico did what they were supposed to do against an FCS program, and they beat up on Incarnate Word. So pretty good chance to say I think New Mexico might be the best of the teams, but we'll see what UNM does against a Division I program, which I'm not sure who they have this week. Is it Wisconsin? Is the Wisconsin game this week? Because we'll get a little bit more of an idea of what to expect from UNM. Yeah, the Wisconsin game's this week. New Mexico State, of course, has Utah State. They're a big dog in that game. They're a 24-point underdog against Utah State. But Utah State played pretty well against Michigan State this week, so I think that had a lot to do with that fact. But I will say UTEP did pay Northern Arizona to come play. That's a little bit more of salt in the wound there, which I just keep on throwing it. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be doing it, but probably as an Aggie, it's hard for me to not be that guy. So, let's see. I'm trying to find. UTEP's at UNLV. UNLV actually played USC pretty solidly this week, so dropped USC in the polls a little bit. So we'll see what happens there. Not an excellent week of games, but there could be some sneaky, decent ones in there, like Clemson at Texas A&M. The line isn't particularly small in that game, but a big program like that, kind of an opportunity for Jimbo Fisher to maybe make a little bit of noise. First opportunity to do that. Who knows? All right, y'all. Talk to you guys tomorrow right here on the Roundup. Coach A.J. Cisco will be with us as we'll talk some Tiger football.
Hey, this is Stu Gatz. You're listening to ESPN Alamogordo, 103.7 Southern New Mexico sports leader, KNMZ Alamogordo.
Has released a statement on Nike, one of its major sponsors, naming Colin Kaepernick the face of its 30th anniversary Just Do It campaign. The statement said, in part, the NFL believes in dialogue, understanding, and unity. Also said that social justice issues Colin and other professional athletes have raised deserve our attention and action. Eagles coach Doug Peterson reiterated that quarterback Carson Wentz, coming back from the knee injury, still not cleared for contact. Nick Foles will start the season opener Thursday. If Philly's playing well under Foles, it won't be an easy call to start Wentz once he's ready to play, believes Pro Football Hall of Famer Brian Dawkins.
It's like that team is rolling, and they put a substantial, wins in the win column. And they're grooving. It's not just wins, but I'm talking about they're really, really moving. The offense is flowing. They're putting up, 30 and 40 points a game. And that's going to be a tough decision for them to make.
Brian Dawkins on Golic and Wingo. U.S. Open quarterfinals, defending women's champ Sloane Stephens lost to Anastasia Sevastova in straight sets.
The flu could be just around the corner. Be prepared with a flu shot from CVS Pharmacy, including those at Target or Minute Clinic. Get your flu shot today. No appointment necessary. Visit cvs.com/flu for details. We've got you covered at CVS Pharmacy.
This is the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio.
And on the ESPN app.
Nike has dove headfirst into one of the most divisive conversations, one of the thorniest issues in American politics. Headfirst with an endorsement campaign for former quarterback Colin Kaepernick. But does Nike know what it's doing? Has Nike been here before? It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, SiriusXM Channel 80, and on ESPN News. You can join the conversation, 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Coming up in this hour, we'll talk about which college football fan bases after this first weekend of games should, could, probably will completely hit the panic button. Also, we're going to be talking about whether or not John Gruden should really, and the Oakland Raiders should really be raked over the coals for the Khalil Mack trade. And I'm going to give you my latest in the top 5 at 5 coming up a little bit later in the hour. But now, joining me on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line is Forbes national sports writer. He's also a sports contributor at MSNBC. You can check out his website, tmoresports.com. It's Terrence Moore of Forbes. Terrence, thanks for jumping on with us. I read your column. So what you hold out on your column here is that this might be, on the surface, controversial, but Nike has been here before. They've done this, taken these, or stood by their controversial athletes at various times. Tell me about it.
Yeah, we all know about Tiger Woods. You go back to the Thanksgiving weekend episode 2009 when his wife chased him with a golf club, and you had all these other big-time companies dropping him, but Nike stayed with him. Nike stayed with Tiger also. Remember 2017 in spring with the DUI? You had the Kobe Bryant, even though the rape charges were dropped, the Colorado rape charges back in 2003, you had other people abandoning him, but, Nike stayed right there. And I'm pointing this out, Will, to say that, yeah, you can say that Nike is putting themselves out there as a force for good if you support Colin Kaepernick in his cause. But, the main thing that Nike is looking out for is Nike. They don't do anything without calculating how it's going to affect them in the long run. And as was the case with Tiger, the case with Kobe, it's also the case here with Colin Kaepernick. They think that in the long run, this is going to help them financially.
Oh, that's fascinating, Terrence. Let me push back on two angles there. I want to come back to the last point second on Nike's bottom line. First, the comparison with Tiger and with Kobe. It seems fundamentally different to me. We're talking to Terrence Moore of Forbes.com, their national sports writer here. It seems fundamentally different to me, Terrence. With both Tiger and Kobe, you had two things. Number one, both transcended athletes. I mean, yes, unquestionably top of their game in their sports, global superstars, right? Kaepernick's not that, at least not for any of his exploits on the field. He might have high Q rating or name recognition, but he's not Kobe. He's not Tiger. And second, the issues with Tiger and Kobe were personal issues. Controversies, yes, but running afoul of the law, things that could tarnish Nike's brand because of behavior. With Kaepernick, it's purely political. It's purely that something that you could say this might really divide, I don't know what percentage, but let's just back the envelope and say 50% of our customer base. That seems to me new ground for Nike.
Well, I'm going to slightly push back on the pushback by saying this.
All right, cool.
And you bring up some valid points. But, I mean, as you know, being in the media, it's always that all-important demographic group of 18 to 34. That's what everybody is fighting for, okay? And I look at this the same way I look at hip-hop music. Who buys the majority of the hip-hop music? And that's white youngsters, certainly between that age group of between 18 and 34. And Kaepernick is kind of in that category. He's sort of like, and that group, okay, that group is highly supportive of Kaepernick. He's very much like a rap star. And certainly you've got a lot of young folks who agree with his points, the fact that he's a guy that's standing for something, social injustice and a very principled thing. So to me, it's very much the same thing in the fact that Nike, whether different circumstances with Tiger and obviously with Kobe and with this, but the same principle holds for Nike. They're looking at the long run, and again, you always got to go with the financial aspect of it. They're gambling on the long run, and they're willing to take the hits in the short run. It's just like I guess today that stock prices dropped like 3.2%.
But
that's nothing in the grand scheme of things.
And so have other shoe companies today. So I don't know that that's evidence of anything yet. Terrence Moore here on the Will Cain Show. Okay, but Terrence, I want you to hear me out, and I'm sure you're going to disagree with me on things here that I'm going to say, but such is life. Listen, okay, you're sitting here telling me Nike's always concerned about their bottom line. I agree. We got to get that, and we got to be realists about it. To me, Terrence, that's an indictment. That's not a good endorsement. That's a problem to me. Okay, here's what I mean. I know what Colin Kaepernick's protests have been about. I've listened to him about the unarmed killing of black men and the perceived injustice and lack of accountability for police officers. But I also know this protest over the last 3 years has taken many forms. It's taken, in Malcolm Jenkins' case, about prison reform. For other players, an anti-Trump position in response to Trump's message or tweets. It's taken many forms. And this latest, because it's so amorphous, the protest, it's now become part of Nike's bottom line. That can't be good to me, Terrence, for any kind of movement for an issue you believe in. Do you disagree with me that now a company's bottom line is driving a protest?
Here's something else that got to be pointed out. Okay, going into last year, and of course I'm sure that you got very educated viewers and listeners out there where, and everybody knows what's going on right now. Colin Kaepernick has been a free agent now for 2 years. I played in the National Football League since he was back with the San Francisco 49ers, again, 2 seasons ago. Yet going into last year, in September of 2017, there was a 3-month period where the highest-selling jersey or any kind of paraphernalia for a 49er player was Colin Kaepernick. The guy was no longer on the team. And again, I'm just throwing that out there to say that this is what Nike's looking at. Now, I'm not going to say that it's necessarily going to work. I'm just kind of projecting to how they view this thing. And then as far as like the social thing there is obviously from a political standpoint, as we all know, there's a hardcore group that is supportive of whatever this president does, whether it's 38%, 39%, or what have you. Well, if you do quick math, that's 60% of that's going the other way. So it's not as if that all of this is having that much of an effect as people think. And one more quick thing, Will, that nobody points out. Everybody talks about the 10% drop in TV ratings last year, okay? And we've all heard that. But nobody talks about that after last season, the National Football League made more money in television revenues than it had at any time in its existence. It was $8.1 billion. Okay,
I know.
So a lot of
You're right. You're right, Terrence.
Is overrated.
This is what I'm struggling with, Terrence. And I don't know if you've ever listened to me, and you might disagree with me on many things, but I can tell you this isn't coming from a place of really, honestly, opposition and certainly not malevolence. This is what I'm struggling with, man. Honestly, as you describe Colin's jersey being one of the top-selling jerseys, as you talk about Nike being concerned about its bottom line, I can't help but think there's something. It's the concept of selling out. That's what it is. It's when something goes mainstream, when it gets monetized, commercialized, when a protest. I don't know of revolutionaries who have endorsements from multinational corporations. And there's an element to all of this, your own shoe line. And we don't know if that's going to happen for sure or not. But it's just like, this was with the end goal? This was where it was all going to end up? It just doesn't sit right. It doesn't seem right, Terrence.
Well, now, Will, this is where we're going to agree. Okay, I'm with you 100% on that. Okay, and I'm probably a little bit older than you, but I am a guy that just gets very almost teary-eyed thinking about the sacrifices of, let's say, Jackie Robinson. Okay, and I just, as much credit and publicity Jackie Robinson's got through the years, I don't think he even gets enough yet to this day. And not only because of what he did on April 15th, 1947, I'm talking about the Jackie Robinson after his playing career. The Jackie Robinson that marched with Martin Luther King Jr. in South Georgia. I mean, you look at a guy like Jim Brown, how outspoken he was in the 60s, or the guy that gets overlooked, I think, in all of this with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Muhammad Ali. The guy that, to me, that gets overlooked is Arthur Ashe. He was huge.
Right.
So this is where I think we're going to be in agreement. They did that out of the goodness of their heart, and it certainly was not a shoe deal or I guess what the other thing that Nike is doing with Kaepernick, that donating X amount of money to his fund, one of his funds.
Yep.
Yeah, that certainly was not going on in the 60s.
I got to run, Terrence. I appreciate the conversation. I don't know. Apparently, President Trump has now weighed in. He's tweeted or said something. All right. I appreciate your time. Thanks, Terrence.
Thank you.
That's Forbes national sports writer Terrence Moore on The Will Cain Show. There, you just heard me. President Trump's weighed in on Kaepernick's Nike endorsement. I'll read it for you next when you come back. Plus, which college football program got the harshest dose of reality this weekend? It's The Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. It's time to get off the couch and start enjoying plans away from home. Ball games are certainly at the top of the list for me. Plus, we're heading into my favorite time of the year, football season. So when you're searching for tickets, there's no better place to look than the official ticket partner of ESPN, Vivid Seats. From your front and center to the upper deck, Vivid Seats has options to fit your needs. So get on it. Grab a group together and get to the game. Go to vividseats.com now and enter promo code ESPN at checkout to get 10% off your first order. President Trump weighs in, and which college football fan bases should panic? Next on The Will Cain Show.
Will Cain. The Will Cain Show is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests appear on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. More from The Will Cain Show coming up.
Getting knocked down on the football field makes you tough. But getting back up makes you tougher. At Goodyear, we call that determination. A willingness to put in more hours, more reps, and more heart to reach a bar that's sky high. Because the Goodyear blimp doesn't show up for just anybody. So don't be just anybody. Be blimp-worthy. Goodyear, more driven.
It's been a long offseason without football, but FanDuel has spent it getting into the best shape of their lives. That means this: FanDuel is ready for more. More ways to play, more ways to challenge your friends, and most importantly, more ways to win. FanDuel also has new options for playing daily fantasy with your friends, because the only thing better than winning cash is winning your friends' cash. Right now, you can get a $20 bonus when you make your first deposit on FanDuel. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/Will Cain. Age and state restrictions apply.
There are no roadblocks scheduled today on either Highway 70 or 54 South. For the latest roadblock information, call 575-678-1178. Tonight's forecast is calling for partly cloudy skies with a 20% chance of rain in Alamogordo. Expect an overnight low of 65 for Cloudcroft, a low of 52. Tomorrow we're looking at mostly sunny, becoming partly cloudy, 40% chance of rain in Alamogordo tomorrow, high of 88, low of 63. Cloudcroft tomorrow, high of 69, overnight low of 49 degrees.
As part of the ongoing effort to keep the roads of New Mexico safe, we would like to share a list of things you should never attempt behind the wheel of your automobile.
Texting your friends, wrestling your friends, eating a sandwich, making a sandwich, hugging your kids, buckling your kids, brushing your hair, brushing your teeth, flossing your teeth, adjusting your seat, rubbing your feet, reading the paper, using a shaver, applying makeup, applying to college.
A large number of car crashes occur when the driver is doing something other than driving. Drive safe, New Mexico.
Paid for by the New Mexico Department of Transportation and aired in cooperation with the NMBA and the station.
So you see, son, good manners are very, very important. Someday, many years from now, when you're a grown-up, you'll be a man. And when you are, you should be a gentleman. Do you want me to go through it one more time?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Exactly. Always say please, thank you, you're welcome, and excuse me. Sit up straight, hold doors open for ladies. If a door's shut, then knock first. Don't burp, don't swear, don't speak with your mouth full, don't reach across people's plates, keep your elbows off the table.
What table?
And don't interrupt. While we're at it, don't stare, don't use foul language, don't call people names, but do remember people's names. Always share your toys, play nice, and cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. On the bus, give up your seat to anyone who has trouble standing. Bottom line, treat others the way you'd like to be treated. Got it?
Got it.
And stop picking your nose.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ag Council.
CEO of Quicken Loans, America's premier home purchase lender. We've created a new way to protect you from unpredictable interest rates. Our exclusive Rate Shield approval. First, we lock your interest rate for up to 90 days. Then, if rates go up, your rate stays locked. But if rates go down, your rate drops. Either way, you win. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply.
Let's talk about Ryan. Way back in May, he wasn't a company man. He was a stay-at-home dad. This August, less than 3 months later, Ryan started his information technology career, doing something he loves, driving a company car. Don't love what you do? Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation today. You could start your new life as an IT pro in months, not years, months. Classes meet on campus or live online 2 or 3 times a week. It's not rocket science. It's My Computer Career. mycomputercareer.edu.
Oh, bud, I heard these guys live once.
How was it?
It was way more like that.
This is awesome!
Give them a concert experience they'll never forget and save on the ticket. Buy 2 boxes of participating Big G cereals like Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Honey Nut Cheerios, or Lucky Charms for a $10 Ticketmaster Ticket Cash code.
Hey, how about tickets to the game Sunday? Seriously?
Must be 13 years or older. Redeem impact code by 10/27/18. Exclusions apply. Visit Ticketmaster.com/General Mills Cereal for full terms and conditions.
Getting knocked down on the football field makes you tough, but getting back up makes you tougher. At Goodyear, we call that determination. A willingness to put in more hours, more reps, and more heart to reach a bar that's sky high. Because the Goodyear blimp doesn't show up for just anybody. So don't be just anybody. Be blimp-worthy. Goodyear, more driven.
Hey, Dory Noka here. Tune in to Dory and Mel Saturday and Sunday starting at 5 a.m. on ESPN Alamogordo 103.7.
Can we try and take the high road?
It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. SiriusXM Channel 80, ESPN News. President Trump has commented on Nike, including Colin Kaepernick, as part of its reboot, 30th anniversary of the Just Do It campaign. Here's what President Trump has said. I think it's a terrible message. Nike is a tenant of mine. They pay a lot of rent, President Trump told the Daily Caller today on Tuesday. By the way, it's Nike Town. It's located at Trump's 6 East 57th Street, New York City location. Trump goes on, but I think it's a terrible message that they're sending and the purpose of them doing it. Maybe there's a reason for them doing it. But I think as far as sending a message, I think it's a terrible message and a message that shouldn't be sent. There's no reason for it. As much as I disagree with Colin Kaepernick endorsement, in another way, I mean, I wouldn't have done it, Trump said. In another way, it's what this country is all about. That you have certain freedoms to do things that other people think you shouldn't do, but I personally am on a different side of it. There's President Trump on Colin Kaepernick's new endorsement campaign with Nike. I've said various times today, look, I don't think the protests which took center stage some 3 years ago, I don't think that arriving at a place where it is culminating in an endorsement of a multinational global organization whose bottom line is the bottom line, I don't think that's a moment necessarily of celebration. I don't think for even those who are on the Kaepernick side versus the Trump side, you can look at that and go, that's where this whole thing should have been headed. I think it's a symptom of a protest that remained amorphous. Yes, it was about the unarmed killing of black men, but at various times it was about prison reform, and at other times it was about President Trump. And isn't it inevitable at some point it becomes about Nike's bottom line? But still, I don't work up the level of outrage of the people out there obviously burning their Nikes on social media, or even those that are upset about it. I'm not upset about it. Not upset about Nike, not upset about Kaepernick. The only thing I would say is this. The idea that Kaepernick sacrificed everything, that to me was a misstep. That's a message that could upset people. And that a message, understandably, people be like, Really? Becoming the spokesman for Nike? Getting a multi-million-dollar endorsement campaign with Nike? Giving up a pro football career? That's sacrificing everything? I understand people that go, please, put that in context. Even on these issues, look at guys. You don't have to do the military thing. You don't have to talk about the people who've given up their life. You can even talk about the people who gave up in the fight for civil rights, much more than the everything it's insinuated Colin Kaepernick gave up. It's just a little much to say Colin Kaepernick sacrificed everything. The Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance, with insurance for cars, home, boat, motorcycles, RVs, and commercial vehicles at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE and Progressive.com. There were several big-time losses in college football this past weekend. Several. Obviously, my Texas Longhorns lost once again to the University of Maryland, and that will make you feel like you're spinning in mud. Hard to see optimism when you lose to Maryland, a coachless Maryland, twice. Michigan, once again, can't win the big game, and once again, looks like it has offensive and quarterback troubles. Florida State was absolutely inept against Virginia Tech, and Miami, once again, lost to a big-time program, and like Michigan and Texas, didn't have quarterback play. Which one of these programs should rightfully freak out right here, one game into the college football season? Which one has a legit reason to hit the panic button? Now, I understand when it comes to Michigan and Texas, it looked like the way it's looked like for far too long. 500 ball for Texas for a decade. Michigan losing big games. But if I'm telling you which one I think is the truth serum, which one tells you something about which one of these teams really looks like what you saw this weekend, it's Miami. Miami may go 9-4. 8-3. 8-4. 12 games. Miami may end up in the ACC championship game, but they'll lose the big games once again. They'll play through the weak ACC. They don't have the team. They don't have the quarterback. They don't have the ability to beat big-time teams. I'm afraid Miami's game against LSU was the biggest dose of truth serum for any of those programs. Coming up, can Jim Harbaugh get Michigan, though, to a level where they're competing for titles? Can he finally get them over the hump, or has he been figured out? That's next in the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
The new ESPN app, now with ESPN Plus. Baseball, hockey, soccer, and college football. You want more? I hope so. Because with Plus, you get new films, shows, and docs. The new ESPN app. Download now and sign up for ESPN Plus today.
When a player doesn't like a contract, what do? They hold out? They hold out for a better deal. If only you could do that with your wireless plan, right? Well, with the Keep Your Own Phone plan from Straight Talk Wireless, you can get a much better deal. Keep your phone, your number, even your same network for a lot less than you're paying now. Without the contract or the holdout.
Get the Ultimate Unlimited plan for just $55 a month on America's largest, most dependable 4G LTE networks. Straight Talk Wireless, only at Walmart. Video typically streams at DVD quality at 60 gigabytes. We reserve the right to review your account for usage in violation of Straight Talk's terms and conditions.
Pros in the know start with Lowe's, because Lowe's has the tool brands pros count on every day, like Hitachi. Right now, you can get a free compact 3-amp-hour battery when you buy any Hitachi cordless nailer or brushless tool. Plus, save time by ordering ahead online, and your order will be ready for pickup at our Pro Desk. Stop by or visit Lowe'sForPros.com for details. So, Pro, now that you know, start with Lowe's. Offer valid through 10/24 while supplies last, U.S. only.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
LSU fans, bit of a mixed bag. I met some really nice ones, and I met some really awful people that were really aggressive.
Benihana, sometimes the chef will throw a shrimp into his hat from the spatula.
Yep.
Ed Orgeron should have just left poop in the top of that orange cowboy hat of yours. Ed Orgeron went into that game saying, I'm going to out-physical you then. And what happens on 3rd and 1? First down. What happens on 4th and 1? First down. What happens on 4th and 1? Offsides. He did nothing but run the ball. His quarterback was useless in the game. And you're down 33-3 and blaming your punter.
I love the visual of Orgeron cooking poop on the cooking surface and just flipping it into Mike's hat.
Just his own poop flipped right into Mike's giant orange cowboy hat.
The Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio and ESPN News.
So it all comes down to this. How will it play out? Are you kidding me? Oh my, he's playing fantasy football with ESPN. Now Sundays are going to be even better because there's a big difference between just watching football and feeling football. ESPN Fantasy Football with IBM Watson. Feel the fantasy. Sign up now at ESPN.com.
First things first for SEC Saturdays. It's SEC Nation.
This is what we talk about in college football.
It's front lines, flankers, and field generals.
When you have great leadership, you show up, you fight.
And it's a full day of fun.
Just as a fan of college football, I'm excited about this game.
It's family, it's food, it's football. It's finally Saturday. SEC Nation, live from the University of South Carolina, Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern, presented by Pilot Flying J on the SEC Network and streaming live on the ESPN app.
30 for 30 podcast season 3 has arrived. This season takes you deep into the complicated world of Bikram yoga.
One of the most beautiful people who ever lived on this earth.
Bikram's guru status enabled increasingly dark behavior.
You would get picked to come give him a little shoulder massage.
It's a story you have to hear to believe. Subscribe and listen to 30 for 30 podcasts on the ESPN app, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, or wherever you enjoy your podcasts. Brought to you by Delta.
The college football playoff is coming, and this season, everything matters. Your game face, the height of the grass, where you sit, the sign you make, or maybe it comes down to that lucky jersey. Because when it comes to deciding the 4 teams in the playoff, everything matters. The college football playoff returns December 29th on ESPN. Who's in?
It's Golic and Wingo.
This is a phenomenal move for the Bears. Congrats to Aaron Donald for being the highest paid defensive player for mere hours. But Mack now is the highest defensive player. Congrats, obviously, to both of them. When you draft a first rounder, you pray they turn out like this. You pray that your first rounder turns out like Odell, who got paid. You pray they turn out like Aaron Donald, and then you pay him like you did. You pray they turn out like Khalil Mack, and you trade him? You trade him away? So what does that A say to the rest of the players in that locker room? Like, what the hell? How are we going to get paid, you know, if they're not paying this guy? And to the Raider fans, I say this, all right, you got all these great fancy first rounders. Say you get one that hits, that actually hits like Khalil Mack again, and you get 3 and 4 years in, and he's playing great. Good luck with that, by the way, to hit this kind of gem again. Do you not pay that guy? You're just proving you're not going to pay him. What the hell are you doing?
Golic and Wingo, weekday mornings at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN2.
You're tuned in to ESPN Radio on ESPN Alamogordo 103.7.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
Today, the NFL released a statement on Nike, one of its major sponsors, naming Colin Kaepernick the face of its 30th anniversary Just Do It campaign. Kaepernick, the former 49ers QB, was the first athlete to kneel during the national anthem to protest police brutality and racial inequality. The statement said in part that social justice issues Colin and other professional athletes have raised deserve our attention and action. The Steelers still not sure if running back Le'Veon Bell will be on the field for Sunday's regular season opener against the Browns. Bell still hasn't signed his franchise tender. He might take his time in returning to Pittsburgh as his priority is to get to free agency next March healthy, explains ESPN's Adam Schefter.
We think the Steelers made a compelling offer, but in his mind, the Steelers didn't do enough to keep him in each of the last 2 years. So what loyalty does he have to them right now going into the season? And I made the argument weeks ago that if I were him, I don't know that you'd see me until week 6, 7, 8.
Adam Schefter on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Bell will forfeit $853,000 in salary for each game that he misses.
The flu could be just around the corner. Be prepared with a flu shot from CVS Pharmacy, including those at Target or MinuteClinic. Get your flu shot today. No appointment necessary. Visit cvs.com/flu for details. We've got you covered at CVS Pharmacy.
Everybody wants to hit the panic button. Everybody in college football. Miami, Michigan, Florida State, Texas. Who deserves to really freak out? It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Joining me now is ESPN's college football insider, Adam Rittenberg, on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Adam covers the Big Ten in particular. He's plugged in there. Let me ask you a question, Adam. I'm pretty plugged into what's going on in Texas. I know the level of freak out down in Austin. What's the level of freak out after Michigan loses to Notre Dame, once again loses another big game with no offense and seeming, for now, no answer to their quarterback issues?
It's certainly up there. I think everyone's wondering, is Jim Harbaugh on the hot seat? I don't think he is at all because of his contract situation, but there's certainly angst building among Michigan fans after seeing an offense that, quite frankly, resembled the one they saw at the end of last year, despite having a new quarterback in there in Shea Patterson. Now, it certainly was not all on Patterson against Notre Dame, as they had some of the same issues, whether it was too much scheme or not enough protection for sure. And that's not just the offensive line, but the backs and the tight ends really had a hard time containing Notre Dame's rushers, especially when they brought extra rushers. And then they weren't stretching the field. I mean, they had that 52-yard completion to Nico Collins on the first play of the second half, but that was their longest play by more than double. There was nothing else over 24 yards. And as you know, it's very hard to win, especially on the road against a good team, when you're not making enough big plays.
Adam, what do you think, in all seriousness? What's the temperature of Jim Harbaugh's seat? I mean, is it ice cold? I mean, fans, like you said,
the thing
can
that
have
we
a
have
little
to
bit
always
of
remember
concern.
is there's the feeling in the moment, which is Michigan can't win big games. Oh my God, everything is a mess. And you have to look at the contract situation, which is very different. Michigan obviously has a lot of money, but to get rid of Jim Harbaugh would be just an incredible sum of money, unless he ends up leaving for another job. So I still think he has the support of Ward Manuel, the athletic director, and much of the administration. And the other thing, too, to keep in mind is that Michigan's last two coaches lasted 3 years and 4 years, respectively. So do you want to get into this pattern where you're changing coaches every few years for a program like Michigan that had long tenures for both Schembechler and Lloyd Carr and other championship-level coaches? I don't think they want to get into that game. So it's just early. They have to be better on offense. They still have the Big Ten race ahead of them, a league that I think they can still win if certain adjustments are made. But I think, the angst level among fans is certainly there. I just don't think it's realistic to put Jim Harbaugh on the hot seat.
Right, so it's basically angst among fans. Adam Rittenberg here on the Will Cain Show. I had Greg McElroy on a little bit earlier, Adam. He said, look, we can't reevaluate everything after week one. You can't tell me the Big Ten's no good all of a sudden because Penn State has a tight game and Michigan State has a tight game. Michigan loses. But are you a little surprised? Looking at Penn State, Michigan State, I thought the Big Ten, I'm telling you, and I'm not ready to write them off after 1 week, but I am a little surprised at the struggles I saw from Penn State and Michigan State. I'm even surprised with the amount of yards and offense Oregon State put up on Ohio State.
Right, a lot of that was against second, third, and fourth teamers with Ohio State, but I agree with you on the Penn State, certainly Penn State and Michigan State. Penn State was very fortunate to win that game, and they did not play well defensively in the fourth quarter, and they needed some fortunate things to happen for them to come out of that game at 1-0. The same with Michigan State, maybe not to that level of an extreme, almost losing, but they were not sharp at all against Utah State. And this week, both of those teams go on the road and face losable games. I mean, Michigan State traveling all the way to Tempe to face Arizona State. It's going to be 100 degrees at kickoff. Michigan State not used to that type of heat. And then Penn State going on the road to Pitt, and it's sort of Pitt's Super Bowl. They won that game a couple of years ago against the Nittany Lions in Pittsburgh. So I think we'll find out this week if there was kind of a week one. You always have some mistakes week one, or whether these are sustained issues, not just for those teams, but maybe for the conference, and maybe that division that we all celebrated coming into the year isn't quite as strong as we thought it would be.
Right. All right, I'm going to ask you the same question, last question for you, Adam, that I've asked of everybody. If I give you all the losses, Florida State, Miami, Texas, Michigan, Tennessee, for that matter, which one of these programs and one of these losses do you think deserves the panic button the most?
I think it was Florida State. I know it's a new staff. I know that they have new systems, but to struggle that much on your home field in a coaching debut with the national spotlight on you is very troublesome. Miami too, but especially Florida State. 3 points with Willie Taggart as your coach against the Virginia Tech team that hadn't had a very good offseason and was very young at certain spots. I really expected so much more from Florida State. So, I think those other losses, teams can move past them. I'm not so sure with Florida State if that's the way you're going to start a new tenure for Coach Willie Taggart.
All right, ESPN's college football insider Adam Rittenberg. Appreciate your time today, man.
Thanks, Will.
The Will Cain Show is presented by Progressive Insurance. Remember, you can watch all 3 hours of the show on ESPN News. And just a little bit, by the way, everybody's stealing our top 5. I mean, I don't know what they're thinking here. We invented the top 5. Like, no one was doing this stuff before the Will Cain Show. We come out here, we start doing top 5s. Before I know it, First Take's running top 5s. Everybody's stealing top 5s. So coming up a little bit later in the show, my top 5 game animals to hunt. Tyrone in New Jersey. You've been holding for a long time, man. You're on the Will Cain Show. What's up, Tyrone?
What's up, Will Cain? I want to call in and ask you one major question about our beloved Cowboys. What is taking Jerry Jones so long to go get Earl Thomas?
I don't know, Tyrone. At this point, you got to figure it's just not going to happen, right? I mean, if it was going to happen, it was going to happen. Seattle's not going to give him away. That's what's obvious. They want real compensation in trade. And I don't know, man. You know what blew me away, Tyrone? Here's the deal. Cutting Dan Bailey to save $3 million. Now, Dan Bailey, the kicker, who's been, the most accurate? Is Dan Bailey the most accurate
second most
kicker in NFL history?
Second most.
Second most in NFL history, Bubba?
Right. Yeah.
And most in franchise history. Now, he's declined. He went from 95% to like 85% to 75%. And he made like over $3 million a year. But the point I'm getting at here when it comes to Earl Thomas is the Cowboys have cap room. And they have something I think around $19 million a year in cap room. They have the ability to afford it, at least in financial capital, if not draft capital. But if Khalil Mack cost you 2 1s, a 3, and a 5, what does Earl Thomas cost you? Something south of that, something less than that. But the exorbitant price for Khalil Mack might be the answer, Tyrone, on what's taking Jerry so long. If that's the going rate for a defensive end, what's the going rate for a safety? A lot more than I would have expected. I'm gonna guess that. I don't think Earl Thomas is going to be a Cowboy. Especially, by the way, why would you trade for him a year out from him being a free agent? He's a year out from being a free agent, so why sell the farm now to bring Earl Thomas in? I think Earl Thomas is going to be a Seattle Seahawk this year. We'll see about a year out. We'll see about a year from now. By the way, are the Raiders clueless? They're just ahead of the curve on Khalil Mack, trading him at that price. Plus, my top 5 animals to hunt. Next on the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. FMLA, FLSA, ACA, EEOC. It's harder than ever for businesses to keep up with today's evolving alphabet soup of regulations. What's a company to do? Kronos. With Kronos, you can minimize compliance risk and track HR policies, making sure they are applied consistently and fairly. HR, payroll, talent, and timekeeping in one unified system, all with a proven implementation approach and simplified, transparent pricing. Learn more at kronos.com/compliance. Kronos, workforce innovation that matters. Top 5 game animals to hunt. And why does everybody hate the Khalil Mack trade? Next on the Will Cain Show.
Never miss the Will Cain Show. Listeners subscribe to the podcast on the ESPN app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. More from the Will Cain Show coming up.
Hiring? Every business needs great people and a better way to find them. Something better than posting your job online and just praying for the right people to see it. ZipRecruiter revolutionized hiring. Their technology finds great candidates for you. It learns what you're looking for, identifies people with the right experience, and invites them to apply to your job. Right now, our listeners can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/will. That's ZipRecruiter.com/will. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
It's been a long offseason without football, but FanDuel has spent it getting into the best shape of their lives. That means this. FanDuel is ready for more. More ways to play, more ways to challenge your friends, and most importantly, more ways to win. FanDuel also has new options for playing daily fantasy with your friends because the only thing better than winning cash is winning your friends' cash. Right now, you can get a $20 bonus when you make your first deposit on FanDuel. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/Will Cain. Age and state restrictions apply.